Who should be leaving Tottenham Hotspur this summer, and who should Big Ange be building his squad around? They are the questions that I will be answering towards the back end of this episode. At the beginning, I will be talking about the Sheffield United final game of the season at Bramall Lane this Sunday. A little match preview against a team who haven't won in eons. So you'd think it'll be an easy win for Tottenham on the last day. But let's not forget what happened at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier this season, where it took two incredibly late goals from Spurs to not be turned over by that Sheffield United team. This is the Spurred On podcast. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Do please drop the video a like, press subscribe if you're on YouTube, and go over to the podcast platforms, be that Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Give me a subscribe or a follow and a rating there. It all really helps, as does you becoming a Spurred On Pro or Patreon member. All the information is in the description box. Only £1 a month. That'll help me keep making daily football content for you. But let's get on to that Sheffield United last game of the season this coming Sunday. For any of you who think it's going to be a walk in the park, I suggest that it won't be. Sure, Sheffield United have not won a home game in 10. However, I don't think they will want to go out getting absolutely battered. I think they'll put it in, and Spurs, let's face it, they've nothing to play for, so it might not be as easy as you think. But first, let's talk about that reverse fixture, as I mentioned, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It was back when we were on the great run of form at the beginning of the season. 8 victories, 2 draws. Big Ange's project was in full flow. People were asking, could we? Could we? And I actually think, had we not suffered those injuries and suspensions in the mad game at home to Chelsea, momentum would have taken us into that top 4 at the very least. However, that's football. That's the Premier League. The only side this season who haven't really suffered from any injuries whatsoever is Arsenal, barring, of course, that player that they bought in the summer. I think his name's Timber. He obviously did an ACL or something, has been out for the season. But in terms of their first 11, proper first 11, they've been very fortunate, and well, let's just say it looks like it's not going to quite take them to the title, but they have been impressive, as hard as that is to say. Anyway, that game back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it ended 2-1 to Spurs. We went 1-0 down deep into the second half from a long throw that got flicked on and a finish at the back post. Sound familiar? Conceding goals at the back post, not being good defending set pieces. Our troubles were already beginning. But then, late in injury time, added time, Richarlison scored a beautiful header from an Ivan Perisic corner. Remember him? We could have done with Ivan Perisic in our squad this season. What a brilliant set-piece taker he was. And let's face it, we have not scored many goals from corners or free kicks this season. And then in the 100th minute, I think it was, Decky Kulusevski pops up on the left, shimmies one way. Everyone thinks he's going to take it on his left foot, takes it on his right and buries it into the roof of the net in the 8th or 9th minute of stoppage time. A 2-1 victory. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium went nuclear, and everyone was very excited at that point. Let's go into Sheffield United's home results. As I mentioned, they have not won in 10, or certainly not for 9 home league games. This will be their 10th. They lost 3-1 at home to Forest. Previous to that, they lost 4-1 at home to Burnley, drew 2-2 with Chelsea and 3-3 with Fulham. Decent results, those. It shows they can pick up a fight, but I think they were still fighting for relegation at that point. Prior to that, they lost 6-0 at home to Arsenal, 5-0 at home to Brighton, 5-0 at home to Villa. They drew 2-2 with West Ham. Decent result. Lost home 3-2 to Luton and lost previously to that, won previously to that 1-0 at home to Brentford. That was their last home victory. They are, of course, rooted dead bottom of the table, one of the worst teams statistically in Premier League history, but not as bad as the Derby team who took that crown many years ago. But yeah, Sheffield United, 20th in the table, played 37, won only 3 games. Let's make sure that Spurs aren't the 4th. Drawn 7, lost 27. Interests me to see whether Sheffield United will do what most teams have done against us this season and play the very low, very narrow block, or maybe because it's the last day of the season, Chris Wilder will be hopefully building towards next season, trying to get them on the front foot, in which case there could be lots of space in which for us to play. That's what I'd rather see. Tottenham, of course, are 5th. We can't go any higher. Played 37, won 19, drawn 6, lost 12. That 12 losses, that really shows how devastating these last 6 games have been, in which we've lost 5. You know, if we could have got some results out of those and maybe only lost like 9 games this season, 9 or 10 at the maximum, I'm not saying it's been a bad season, but that would have, I think, pushed us into the top 4 if we could have just got a few more results. Let's compare that. That's 63 points we've got so far this season with a maximum possible of 66. Let's compare that to last season where we finished 8th, played 38, won 18, drawn 6, lost 14 for 60 points. So we could finish, if we beat Sheffield United, 6 points more than we did last season. Bear in mind that's without Harry Kane and his 20-odd, 25-odd goals and many, many assists, and a new manager and a new style of play. Let me know in the comments what you think, because there's been a lot of negativity around Spurs in the last month or so, but realistically, how many of you thought we would finish potentially on 66 points, more than last season, with a better style of play, building around a young nucleus of a squad, many of whom who hadn't played in the Premier League fully for a season before, if at all? I think it's been a big success. You have to you can't take these things in isolation. You have to add it all together in terms of the whole season. I think Ange has done a wonderful, wonderful job. 1 point against Sheffield United guarantees us Europa League football and 5th place. Surely we should be good enough to get that. Chelsea have had a good end of season coming up behind us. Impressive from Pochettino. I've always said I think he'll do a good job there if he's given time. A lot of the big Chelsea influencers and Chelsea fans, and certainly the home fans, are very apathetic about Maurizio Pochettino. It would be hilarious to me if they changed the manager now, because he's clearly got that squad playing for him, and the amount of players that he was thrown together with, what a difficult job he's had to go through. But if they were to lose him now or get rid of him now, I think that would be funny. But equally, if they carry on with Pochettino, the difficulty they have, as we've seen with hiring former Chelsea managers, the moment they have a bad run, the fans are on his back. So difficult position for Chelsea, but you've got to say, if they finish in 6th place, and it looks like they're going to, that has been impressive. Obviously should be remembered, we went to Bramall Lane last year in the FA Cup. I think it was the 5th round where we usually lose. Although we went out a round earlier this season. We lost 1-0 at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United last year. That was devastating, wasn't it? If you remember, Harry Kane left on the bench. That was madness. A little bit of team news. Basham and McBurney are out for Sheffield United. McBurney always plays well against us. He's a nasty little bastard. And then for Spurs, more injuries. Richarlison, Bissouma, Solomon, Destiny Udogie, obviously Sessegnon, Ben Davis and Timo Werner all out. Will we sign Timo Werner on a long-term deal? It wouldn't surprise me at all if we try to renegotiate the loan, get another season from Werner on loan and see what happens. He's been left out of the Germany squad. He came to Spurs really to try and get into that Germany Euro squad. It hasn't quite worked for him, but he's impressed me enough to get another season on loan. Whether or not we'd want to spend the 15 million to get him full-time, I do not know. Maybe that money can be better spent elsewhere. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm just going to mention now who I think Spurs and Big Ange should be building the squad around, adding more depth to for next season and beyond. So I'm going to talk about who I think definitely has to stay and should stay so we can build a bigger squad around, and then who I think we should be listening to offers for. Before I do that, I'll just say my prediction for Sunday. I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham Hotspur. So, in terms of who I think should definitely stay for next season, I've got 14 players. Vicario, Radu Dragushin, Son Heung-min, Yves Bissouma. I know some people will find that a bit controversial, but I don't think we can get a better squad player as a number 6, and he should be fighting for that number 6 position with someone else that we bring in, be that a Paulinho or someone that the recruitment team have found abroad. Obviously, Lucas Bergvall's coming in. He likes to flip between the 6, the 8, and the 10 position, so maybe he can do a job there too. But I think Bergvall's one for the future a little bit more. Richarlison, I think, should stay. I think we're going to struggle to find a number 9 who is as good as him for a price we can afford to pay. Sure, if Saudi Arabia come in and bid what we paid for him, and then we can get Tony for less than that, maybe. But for me, I think Richarlison has done enough this season to deserve longer at the club. Maddison stays. Romero, Deki Kulusevski, I've been a bit unsure on him recently, but I do think in terms of having a deep squad with talent and technical ability and attributes on the ball, we're not going to get much better than Kulusevski. I think he stays. Brennan Johnson stays. Porro, Pat Matassar, great first proper season for him. Rodrigo Bentancur stays. Mickey van der Ven and Destiny Udogie. They're the 14 players that I think we should be building around. That means, in terms of players that I think we can listen to offers for and could sell, although it's so hard to sell players at the moment. But a lot of these, if we could get anywhere near £10 million for, I would probably take. I would really take it. It's very difficult, but that's what I'm saying. So, Ollie Skip, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Brian Hill, Emerson Royale, Gio Lo Celso, too injured, doesn't get on the pitch enough. Ryan Sessegnon, Fraser Forster, let him go on a free. Manor Solomon, any money you can get for him because we got him on a free, take it. Ben Davis, Austin and Whiteman, the keepers, and then the players out on loan, Reguilon, Jed Spence, Japhet Tanganga, looks like he's going to go to Millwall. They've already agreed a deal, apparently. Tanguy and Ndombele, just rip up his contract. Joe Rodon, looks like Leeds are going to want to buy him. They're in the playoff final, so it'll be interesting to see how he does if they get up to the Premier League, and they'll have a bit more money to spend on him then as well. And then, they're the players I would listen to offers for. And then players that I would send back out on loan next season. Ashley Phillips, Dane Scarlett, let's see if we can get him a high championship loan. Valise needs to get some minutes, ideally in a high championship or Premier League team. He's not got any minutes out on loan at Seville. And then Troy Parrott, who has done really well in Holland this season. I would love to see him get a Premier League loan. Let's see if he can get the minutes at a lower Premier League club and score some goals in the Premier League. And if he's got the right attitude to do that and can do that, he can come back to Spurs and potentially become a big player for us in the future. Obviously, I've left out younger players like Mikey Moore, etc., etc. Let's keep bedding them in with the first team. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do drop the video a like. Please press subscribe if you haven't already and become a Spurred On Pro or Patreon member. Only £1 a month helps me bring this daily content to you. Most importantly, though, last game of the season. Come on, you Spurs.